In this episode of 20 Years a Migrant, we talk about getting a job. Hi.
Hi. We're back after a long hiatus.
You know what? I tend not to like the "we are back" thing.
Well, we are back because
Yeah.
we never left, but we're back.
We're always here.
We're always here, but
Yeah, but yeah,
life happened.
life has been
Was
happening.
happening.
Yeah, or is still happening.
Still happening.
Yeah, but we will try our best to stay consistent. Do you promise?
I think you promise.
Okay.
Girl Guide promise. Do you remember Girl Guides? I don't know why. I suppose you did scouts. You obviously wouldn't have done Girl
I was a
Guides.
scout.
But
Yeah.
we used to do, the thing was a promise that I'll do my best to do my duty to God,
in my
to
country.
serve my
God in my country, to help other people and
to
to
serve
keep.
my God and other people and to keep the brownie law.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never, to be honest, I never got to be a guide. I was a brownie. And then, I don't know, I suppose things happened. I never got to be a girl guide.
Yeah, I was a scout. I was never a Cub Scout. But yeah, that grew out of me
Yeah.
quite quickly.
Yeah.
You know what? I think how it turned out, I just didn't like the atmosphere because we were paired with a high school, and there was some dodgy behavior. I think they were sort of abusive, as in power.
Okay.
You know, by the scout leaders. There was a bit of that this thing of punishing.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't do this, I'm gonna punish you. I'm thinking, why are you? You know what I mean? Even as a
It didn't feel right, isn't
it
it?
didn't feel right. Yeah.
Because it was voluntary, you'd go there and you're learning skills, and
Yeah, I'm
now
like,
you're being punished.
You're being
for
punished.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah. I didn't like that idea. I understand discipline, but yeah, I'm thinking, come on, you are, you're slightly older than me. Why are
Yeah.
you punishing me? You know what I mean? I didn't like that. And one time we had we had a camping night, right? And there were these things that people did, like, we had to pick a thing out of a hat. And
Okay.
then you had to do that, like say a joke, sing a song, blah, blah, blah. One of them was show your privates,
Oh.
right? I picked one where where I was told, oh, behave like a mad person.
Like a married person.
Like a mad person.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then this guy in the house, and I don't know, there was like,
Did you show his privates then?
he did, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And another guy, another guy, he was told to take off his clothes and lie down. Take off his clothes and lie down. There was a guy, he was a teacher.
That's not scouts.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
I
not
was
scouts.
like, what is this? What
That's
is
not
it? I left the
scouts.
next day. I only spent one night in the camp. Then I left the next day.
Why, was the camp close to home or
It was
something?
close to home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going back home. I went home.
No, that's not scouts.
Yeah,
Wow,
that was-
it's not what. No.
Yeah, that was incorrect. Sorry for the wrong thing. Today we're talking about getting a job.
See, this is what happens in our house. You start one topic and then the next thing.
Not about
round and round.
not about childhood trauma.
Yeah, I didn't know you went to scouts.
How did you- I did go to
suppose you didn't
Scouts.
know I went to brownies either.
I think it's a given. That's what we all did when we were young. Most of us, that's what we
not
did.
everybody did it though, because I remember not many people in my class did it. Yeah, it wasn't like all of us went.
Yeah.
Um,
And there was also a pressure to buy the uniform.
yeah, I had the uniform.
Like the uniform and the stuff. And some of it was just expensive, I guess.
Yeah. yeah. But I know a few girls in my class who continued to become girl guides, and then they were, they changed. Obviously, their uniform was now blue from brown.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, it's funny because now should we just talk about the? No, I'm just joking. Okay, let's talk about jobs. We'll talk about this another time.
Yeah. So we're talking about getting a job, right? How our experience of getting a job in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe I've spoken about it before. I don't remember, but
We probably touched on it. You know how
Yeah.
conversations can go a bit left.
yeah,
But we haven't spoken about it as a topic.
yeah, because I remember what I did when I was first getting a job. I was in London, All right, because when I moved here, I moved to Farnborough, like I said before, and then I went to London in Romford with my other brother, my bigger brother, and he gave me a directory. Do you remember those
Oh yeah,
yellow
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pages,
Yeah.
yellow pages, and a bus pass, and there was a phone in the house. It was like, okay, here's a bus pass, here's a yellow pages. Look for care homes in there. Call them and say you're looking for a job. I just spent a week in the UK, and you want me to just call? It was
Yeah,
just
but at that
terrifying.
time though, jobs weren't difficult to get, to be
No,
honest.
yeah,
But I know, like maybe you may have been a little bit terrified, like you're saying,
yeah,
or just that feeling of unknown, you know,
yeah. Because
being in the unknown and not knowing. Because in Zim, obviously, it was totally different how you got a
you
job.
can't just call a
You can't
company and
just
say, "If you
call
got
a
a job,
company
I'm
and say,
looking
"Have
for
you
a
got a
job.
job?
I'm
I'm
looking for a
coming. I'm
job."
coming." Or I'm coming. Have you got interviews? Or it was weird because you just look in the paper.
Look at the paper, and then you
Or
apply. You
maybe
send
even
a
word of
letter.
mouth sometimes, but majority of the time it was
And
advertised in the paper.
yeah, because I
Then you'd
thought we were
send
supposed to
your
write a letter.
then you write your letter and stuff like that. But
Now you're telling me to call these random
but then
companies.
again, if you think about it, it depends on the type of jobs that we were going for. Because
Yeah,
if you had been going for, I don't know, an office job or
civil
something,
service. Let's
or
say
civil
yeah,
service, for
yeah.
example, you probably would have done that.
Gone through it.
You'd have had to look in the
Go through an application process. I
application
guess.
process,
Yeah.
write a letter, maybe even look through the classifieds, because I know they had jobs. I know a colleague of mine, it's one of her stories that her dad was looking through because she'd been lounging at home, and then her dad was looking through you know how old men used to read newspapers. Well, yeah, I'm saying old men. But yeah, and then he circled the job and it says, "You're applying for this job." Rookie. That's how she got the job.
Oh.
Yeah. Which was it? She's been with the civil service that long,
Forever, yeah.
since she was in her teens. But yeah, so
But yeah,
I think it just depends on the kind of jobs that we were looking for. At the time, it was just entry level, something easy, something simple, and something to get you onto the what you call it, job market, so to speak.
well, you were on the job market. If you haven't got a job, you're on the job market, isn't it? If you're looking for a
So
job.
the other way around, you know what I mean? Like to say I'm not unemployed, because it's very difficult to look for a job, even if you're going for the civil service, for example, and then they say previous experience and they say
you have none.
unemployed,
Yeah.
or something like that. Or I mean, yes,
Unless-
we were lucky enough to have experience from Zim because we'd worked. But imagine people who hadn't, and then you come here and then they're like previous experience, and you're saying unemployed or something. You know what I mean? But at least if you're in a job, and then they say, "Oh, where you currently working?" You can say, it gave you that bit of oomph.
Well, you know what that reminds me? Because we had to pretend we were to sort of fake our experience, right? To say I worked in a care home before or worked somewhere before, right? So you would put your cousin and your friend or someone as a reference.
All right, okay.
So I put my friend Carol. We're going to see her. My friend Carol, not the Carol, the singer. She was in Glasgow.
Oh,
I
okay.
put it down, right? And I think I don't remember what I said, right? I think I said she was my friend or something like that.
Okay.
And then when they contacted, she said, "Oh, he's my cousin."
Oh no!
I'm like, our stories didn't sync.
Didn't sync.
And then she called me and said, "Wait, this guy has called me and said," I don't remember what happened, but I just thought the idea of saying, because you needed to have, they needed some reference of people, people who don't live with you know. But it was easy, because it was quite easy to get into a care home, into those kind of jobs, like cleaning or care, because of the high staff turnover in these kind of places and the demand.
Yeah.
Because the population was aging, or is still aging. This is why we've got some kind of crisis, right? So they need people to work.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be snobbish in, okay, let's see your grade 7 certificate or your whatever. You know what I mean? They're not going to care about a lot. They think if your background checks out, you've got a job.
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's the thing, though, because I don't even think they checked.
They did CRBs.
No, CRB is newish. It was after we came. I don't remember.
Really?
I don't remember doing a
I think
CRB when I first
think I
arrived. It's I wouldn't say new, but it was after we came.
Was it?
Yeah, CRBs are fairly
Oh, right.
new.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I don't remember.
I mean,
Of course, they,
the process might have been there,
hmm
but in terms of it being like you have to have a CRB to get a job,
mm.
it's something that was
And all they did
introduced.
was check your passport, your visa, or you could just show them a letter from the Home Office,
But the
a
funny thing
copy of
is,
the Home Office to
because CRB
say,
means criminal record, right?
yeah, yeah,
And because you don't have a criminal, you've just arrived, you don't have a criminal
criminal
record.
record,
Not
yeah.
that you would be a criminal, but it would obviously come back with nothing because
You've just
they're
arrived.
only searching within the UK. So it was really pointless for us.
I wonder if they check on Interpol as well,
I don't know.
or
That would be
Europe,
too much money. It would be too
Europe.
expensive.
Well, they're
Yeah.
part of it. They're
Because they
part
would
of
have
them.
to check all those Zimbabweans that came. They would have to ring ZRP.
No. If you're on
That would have been
Interpol, it
hilarious.
depends. I think it depends on the kind of crime. Each kind of crime you've committed. But then if you're on the Interpol lists, they'll catch you at the airport. If you use your name,
Yeah, of
they might
course.
catch you at the airport.
Yeah.
That's the idea of it. Yeah, they're not gonna say yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
they would have to. They would have to do a proper check. But I know, like with some jobs that they did, like if they were proper jobs, like I don't want to say proper because every job
Every
job is proper. But
Yeah.
what I mean is like I don't know, where if you say, oh, I worked in. Like I used to work at an NGO, they would actually contact the NGO to say,
Yeah, we so and so.
this person, blah blah blah. And
Yeah, but
even now, if you come in saying I used to work at this place in whatever country, they'll contact that country.
it
But
reminds
care homes and
it
stuff
rem-
like
it
that, or
reminds me
Tesco,
like
for example, they don't have the time to be checking, that you worked in wherever you worked in Zimbabwe.
yeah, what they want is that do you have is there someone who knows you?
Yeah.
That's what they want. Because it reminds me of if you're applying for a visa to go to Thailand, for example, in some countries like Nigeria, you're supposed to provide a lot more information, including a police clearance.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like, okay, you need this, you need a lot more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But no, applying for jobs it's progressed, hasn't it? From where it was, obviously, to what it is now, and I know a lot of people are struggling. I don't know what it's like in the care industry anymore because I've since left that sort of area. But from what I hear from people that have recently arrived, it's one of those where you hear something somewhere and then you go and
Yeah,
I think there's still that element of you ring again. Do you have vacancies?
Yeah, vacancies, yeah.
Yeah. But I hear that they're full. Most care homes anyway are full.
Well, care homes, they're not really taking people from outside, aren't they? Sponsorship.
No, yeah, they
But
don't have sponsorship.
It's the agencies. And I feel some of these agencies, they're being run by not very nice people.
No.
And yeah, they can be abusive because because you're new, you're scared to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, one, because you're new. Two, you're desperate because you're coming from a situation where you probably haven't worked since you left uni or college or whatever. So you're just happy to be in a place where you can get some type of work.
Yeah, you've got a job because there are some people who have never worked before.
Yeah.
And then, like from what I know anyway, from say we've come from Zimbabwe, they've never had a job before, and coming here would be their first job since they left school.
Yeah.
They can be.
Because I was speaking to my cousin the other day, and I know she was saying there's this job that she wants to go for, and then
Where's your cousin? Sorry.
Huh?
Where are they?
In Stoke-on-Trent.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was saying she all she wants is a job, and I was like, I think you'll get one, at some point, because her sponsor decided they didn't have any hours for her and stuff like that, so she's desperate. And then she was just like, so long as they give me a job, I'll be happy to work, even if they don't give me annual leave. I just want to work. And I was like, no, but you still have your rights. And she was like, no, I'm desperate, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So people are working on that desperation
Out of desperation, yeah,
she's
yeah.
willing to just say, yes, I'll do whatever you want me to do, basically, because I haven't been working for this long. I need the money. I need the
Yeah.
job. I need the security. So if she can be that person that's one up over someone else who can't do those extra hours or those extra jobs,
Yeah.
then she's better off. Though she's a better hire, so she's willing to forgo her annual leaves. You're saying, and I was like, are you serious? It's like, yes, I'll do anything.
Yeah, but then
Because she has to keep a visa at the end of the day.
yeah,
You see?
yeah.
So
That's why I'm saying like the way it's being operated is putting people in kind of a desperate situations.
Yeah.
If in a scrupulous agency knows this, they can just take advantage of you.
Yeah.
All right, and say because you get tired, you get exhausted, and then they say, "Oh, we need some. It's a day off."
Yeah.
All right, they're like, "Oh, come to work." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you never rest.
Yeah.
Because right now, that's what she's saying that now. But when
Exactly.
you're in
That's
that
what I said to her. I was like, you're saying
when you're
that
in that
now, but then
position-
they'll then take advantage of you later on when you actually are tired and you want time off, and they'll be like, no, and then you'll be stuck.
So yeah, I do get that. Yeah, there's a thing about sponsorship. So we're quite lucky to work. I feel like I was quite lucky to work in a care home. I guess in that situation,
Yeah.
because I don't think care homes you can have regular hours.
Yeah.
They say, okay, you're working Tuesday to Saturday, these hours with these hours every week.
Yeah.
That's what you work.
But for me, it was all agency when I first started. I never worked for a care home.
Yeah.
No, I lie. I did work. My first one was a care home. It was a residential. But I didn't stay there long because it was. I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast. There was a bit of, and coming when I was still fresh from Zim, I could still sense that this is not right in terms of racism and stuff.
Yeah.
Where all the black staff
Okay,
were asked
yeah,
to do
yeah.
certain things and stuff like that, and you'd leave the job, you'd be so tired.
Yeah.
Because you are the one lifting and all sorts and doing all the whatever while others, the Twi people are making teas and coffees and smoking cigarettes and, whatever else. But yeah, so I when I left that, I can't remember, I think my cousin's wife is one who told me about an agency, and that's when I started doing agency work, which I found quite good. I was happy with it. And, they would send me to different places and stuff like that. But it wasn't domiciliary at the time.
Okay. Well,
But getting an agency job wasn't hard. You'd go in
Yeah, I
and
don't
then
think it was.
and then they'll be like,
It
"Oh,
wasn't
we just
hard.
need you to make sure that you've done some hoisting training because
yeah, it was quite lax. Things were quite lax way back then. And people would I remember people were registering for so many different agencies.
yeah."
So that if you
And
don't
that's
get
the
a
funny
job
thing,
here,
right? I registered for so many agencies to a point where sometimes I'll get a call from a random agency. I'm like, did I apply here? And then they'll be like, yeah, we're offering you a job. Do you want a job? And I'm like,
am I available or not?
yeah, until I got one, a call from, I think it was Cherry Professionals. And they called me and said, oh, we've got a job for you at WIG. And I'm like, what job is that? And they're like, oh, it's a contract manager. And I was like, did I put my name? One of those. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm coming through.
Well,
And then
what were you doing there? Managing contracts.
basically, yeah. Yeah. Basically, that was the job.
You know what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I'm not daft.
No.
But
Because look, you said contracts manager, right? I started thinking WIG. I think I've heard of the company before. I
they're
don't know what it
engineers.
means.
It's an engineering company.
So what were you doing then?
I was just managing contracts and stuff
What
like
does
that.
that mean?
Like people's contracts. So it was sort of like HR type, but not quite. So it was so engineers are contracted to do certain work, and then I
Yeah.
would manage that contract between the engineer and whoever's contracting them to do the work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but prior to that, I'd done like what you call it. My brother had got me a job at his workplace where because he's a structural engineer, not structural engineer, what's he? A surveyor. So he had got me a job at his workplace where someone was on maternity leave. So I was
Okay.
covering. So I think during that period, I don't know how they found out, or maybe I updated my CV to say engineering administrator, and then they're like, "Do you want to be a contract manager?" And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, sure.
So soon after that ended, I think I waited about a month looking for jobs, and then I got that call, and I was like, "Yes." Went to their place, and then they were like, "Okay, this is what the job entails, blah blah blah. Do you want to go for it?" I was like, "Yes." So we'll put you down for an interview. Okay, I went for the interview, got the job. Yeah, and then that was, but I didn't stay long because that's another story.
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
story. Yeah, still more stories.
That woman. You know when that was the first and only ever time I felt anxious at work.
You know, I thought you were gonna say the only time you punched somebody.
I would have loved to punch her because you know what? You know why?
A silly cow,
It's a silly reason, but you know why? She used to be very, very healthy in inverted commas, right?
Okay.
Like she would eat carrots and cucumbers
Yeah.
and like all the time, like constantly. That her munching was she was already annoying as it was. And now here she is sat next to me going with the carrots.
you know,
So yes, you're right. I would have punched her.
Have you seen a thing on I think I seen on Instagram where they say like you know when you just dislike someone, right?
Yeah.
You just dislike everything they do.
Yes!
Right, like look at you. Well, they use a swear word, right? Like, why is that eating chicken? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you eating chicken, bitch? Look at that bitch eating chicken. Why are you eating chicken, bitch? As in, you're just so annoyed that you're eating chicken. That's it.
No, but she was the carrots and the cucumbers every day. She had to.
She was being healthy. What's the problem?
Colleen was a name. If you guys come across a Colleen who's mean, that's her.
A Colleen who's a Karen. If you meet a Colleen who's a Karen,
I won't
that's
say
her.
her surname. I don't know if I remember. Probably would.
Yeah. But no, I know what you mean. As in, it just dislike everything about somebody.
No, but that was the first. Other places I'll get annoyed. You can never be happy in some jobs. Yeah. But I was happy to just like, okay, I can work around this. I can work around that. Yes, racism, like I mentioned earlier.
And
But this was like, one of those where you're like, even just sending an email, you're like, is this correct? Is this correct? You double guess, second guessing yourself?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff where it's just like, and
you're
your heart rate.
double-guessing.
Yeah, you're constantly like,
Double
and then if she
checking,
gets up, you're like, oh gosh, or if she looks over or something, you're like, oh my God, have I done something? You know what I mean? Like, I hate
she just set it on fire. So,
that in the end I quit in a very interesting
dramatic way.
Dramatic way. I just left. I went for lunch and I never came back. Seriously. And then one of my colleagues, I phoned her and I was like, I can't remember her name, Sarah. I'm friends with her on Facebook. And I called and I said, can you bring all my stuff? I'd taken
your stuff?
No, I'd taken my handbag because I was going for lunch. So I'd taken my personal my close personal stuff. But like how on your desk you have your mug
little
and
things.
little things. So I was like, can you bring? And she came with a little box
On
full
the
of
same
my
day?
things.
Or some
was it
other
the same
day?
day? It was probably another day. Maybe the next day.
I ain't coming back.
I was like, I ain't coming back. I hadn't finished my probation anyway. And she had extended it, actually.
Yeah.
She had extended my probation.
No,
But
I think
the
maybe
funny
she
thing
lied,
is,
yeah.
right? No, what it was, okay, let me explain. So what it was I started the job. In the first week, we did induction, orientation, whatever you call it. Second week, she was going on leave, right? So she went on leave for about a week, or was it 2 weeks? In those 2 weeks, I did everything that I was meant to do within my role. That the director was like, this girl's amazing. or maybe not amazing. I don't know,
Okay.
but he was impressed to a point that he mentioned it to her and to the other lady who wasn't necessarily my line manager, but worked alongside her.
Okay.
That it was known, like, and I'd gotten the message. Oh, she's doing really well. She's done this, that, and the other. So when this woman came back, she must have heard this girl was amazing, and she got jealous because maybe
she got jealous.
she'd never heard her being called amazing. I don't know.
got
And then
jealous.
from there, that's when
jealous.
it just went downhill. So I wasn't even there long, but I
see,
stayed for a good 4 months.
I can tell you what the problem is. Overachieving. Okay. You shouldn't.
maybe.
You should just stay. That's a problem with overachieving.
But that's the thing, because after this was my first sort of, because the role that I did when Tawanda, my brother, got me the job at his workplace, was the first sort of job where I felt like, okay, I wasn't doing care. I was now sort of like, and I was like, okay, maybe now I can start. I can start rebuilding my career.
No, because the thing is,
So when I got this job, like, it was like a proper job. Where, I keep saying proper, but you know what I mean, like something to do with
something you wanted
with what,
to do.
something I wanted, something. So I was like, okay, now I can show what I can do, and I can start building my career back up again, and all this and all that. So maybe that's why. So maybe I did overachieve.
Yeah, you're overachieving. Okay, you need to chill.
I needed to chill.
I saw a thing once where you said, like, in a workplace, you have a solution to something, you have an idea of something, but then you realize, okay, if I share this idea, I'll be the one doing it. Like, it's more work for me.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
You hold back, you stop yourself, like, okay, if I tell them about this, well, it's me who's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what you needed to do. But I think is, I've got another jobs like where I worked in a pub. Well, that was because my brother-in-law owned the pub. I worked at Pizza Hut because I was in college. Going to care homes, that was quite difficult now. It was during the day. So I started working at Pizza Hut delivery. That was all right. I ended up knowing the whole, like when you know the roads, the whole area, something that I never used to do before.
Yeah.
Right. And then I worked as a courier. The courier one, there was no application. You know what? I called them and say, I'm a driver. I want to start driving. Yeah, do you have jobs? They were like, oh, come in. When I came in, there was no interview. They were taking my driving license. They didn't
Here you were
they
thinking,
didn't
oh,
ask for
okay,
my passport.
maybe they just because when people take your details, you're just thinking, okay, maybe it's just preliminary checks to make sure that
they were like,
whatever.
okay,
not knowing that they're actually putting you down as in
got a job
continue. Now
already.
an employee.
And then I said, okay, that's okay. That is your van. Like, oh, really? I was given. I got a brand new van. It did 525 miles on it.
Wow.
Right? And then I sat down and said, okay, we're going to give you a job. You're going to go to this place, pick something up, and take it to this place. And I did that, Like, really? I want to go. Like when when you turn up somewhere and they just give it to you.
Yeah.
Like there were no questions about anything.
Yeah.
About whether I've been to prison or not, or whether I was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I just went there and I was given the job.
You were given the job.
Just by calling. So,
it's crazy.
you know,
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of after this job that I got, right? And then my cousin told me about the jobs that he had been working. So he was a sales rep, right? Selling Eon power. You know when people used to sell door to door energy.
You know what? There's some people who came last week. Broadband.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not the first time. It was EE last time.
Are they getting paid though? How are they getting paid?
I don't know.
Because back then they used to make a lot of money because people door to door, because there wasn't internet, there wasn't what's this confused.com where you can just check and swap and use switch your bills and
Yeah, I've made a few door to door ones. No,
yeah, so my cousin
because
Kudzi used to do that, right? And he was doing it with this company, and he told me about the company. I was like, I ain't doing door to door. You know me and the weather. I was like, then I was like, okay, maybe they also do like indoor, like in supermarkets, malls, where you're just in one place, but you're selling a product. You don't have to move around. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But it didn't pay as well as the door-to-door one, because they obviously knew no one really wanted to do that one, so they'll pay a bit more. But it was still a lot of money at the end of the day. But that was another one where you'd go in and then they'll be like, because they were desperate, because salespeople, they come and go, and it's usually university students that are doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there was always a sort of high turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those, you go in and you're like, yeah, I'm looking for a job. Oh, okay. And then they pretend. It felt like a pretend interview. You know, one of those where they're like, we have to do like we're doing, but I think they knew that you already had the job.
Yeah, like,
but
okay,
they were just
just by turning up, right?
Yeah, it was just ticking a box. It felt like that.
You have to go through the motions.
It was one of those where in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going through an interview, right? And I was like, oh God, I think I've messed this up. But you could see them going, yeah, okay, wow, lovely. Oh, wow. One of those where you're like, and you're looking at them going, I messed up that. I'm sure I messed up that sentence. One of those. Yeah.
I think my first proper interview, was I applied for a job as a pharmacy technician, like an apprenticeship. Was it like an apprenticeship? They offered training at Yeovil.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeovil Hospital. I went there because I used to work at pharmaceutical companies in a minute, right? So I thought I'd done well at the interview, but then that's when I also learned the type of interviews we had in the UK, quite different to the interviews we had in Zim, the things that they asked. Or maybe they do now in Zim, you know what I mean? Like, because things always develop anyway.
Yeah.
But it was so different, and I would say, oh yeah, I know these things, but I think that was the wrong. I feel in the end I didn't get the job, because I would have required sponsorship at that time, and I feel like I didn't do too well at the interview because I was showing off my knowledge.
Yeah.
Instead of actually answering the questions. Yeah. I feel like, so yeah, that was my first proper interview. I would have been chuffed if I had gotten the job, but
yeah,
I think I was clueless. With the interview process.
Would you do that again? Would you go back into
pharmacy technician? I think so. I think so. Yeah, I've thought about getting into healthcare, but then the trouble is, one thing that I sort of learnt is not to do. Not learnt, but I've sort of decided, right? I don't want to do jobs that are regulated. That you know what I mean?
Says he who works in insurance.
Well, no, okay, no, professions that say like I have to belong to a certain.
Oh, okay.
That I can be struck off.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want that kind of. I don't know.
You think you might do something on mistake and then get struck off?
You can make a mistake and then be struck off. But it's not really your fault, or maybe there's no evidence that you made a mistake. I don't know.
Are you thinking of your Zim opioid story where people were taking opioids?
What? My colleagues.
Is that what you were thinking about at the time?
That
where the opioids were like we have 5 liters of opioids here, but
it's 2 liters.
There's only 2 liters.
No, it was more.
Obviously, here there's more systems. I don't know. But
no, it's a matter of no. What I don't want is I don't want to be controlled by somebody else. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to. Let's say I'm a nurse. You do something, right? You put a post on Facebook that the nursing organization feels like, no, you can't be a nurse because of this Facebook post. You know, that kind of thing, right? But obviously, yeah, I don't want to be, I'm not saying I want a license to be a horrible person, but just the idea that
it can be taken away.
It can be taken away, and then you can't work. You have to maybe, even if you change countries, because let's say you're a nurse, you do something, you go to South Africa, you say, I trained as a nurse in the UK, they're going to check, isn't it? And then it's, you were struck off. So, yeah, that's one thing. That developed over the years anyway. Yeah, I think it would be. I don't know. I think I would. I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Even doing things like radiography and stuff like that. But then I think I don't want to work in the. Do I want to work in the NHS unless I'm being paid loads of money?
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned that there's a difference between Zim interviews and what was the difference? What can you sort of
No, I think
at that
no.
time because
Okay.
because I know like within the civil service now I don't necessarily know about corporate world, but they are not interested in your technical ability or your skills.
Yes.
They're more
Yes.
interested in how you would deal with the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
more interested in knowing like what was the outcome of whatever
Whatever.
situation you went into or
Yeah.
you know
Exactly. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they want to know. It's more like a storytelling. It's not like, oh, I'm good at Excel. Oh, I have a degree in
Yes.
people
Yeah.
management.
Is that kind of
Or
thing?
I
Yeah.
have, you know what I mean? They're not interested in that. Or I've got 20 years experience in
Yeah,
whatever. They're
because
not interested.
I remember in my previous interview in my last job, the pharmacy interview, right? We were doing maths, we were doing all those kind of maths and chemistry and all these other kind of things, but I wasn't. They were not asking me about all of that.
Was that
So-
in Zim?
No, in Zim, I was being asked maths questions. We even did a test. There were other people who were given maths questions and stuff like that. And we talked about chemistry. We talked about during the interview, and then when I was at UOV Hospital, none of that, right? We talk about it's those kind of things. But what I was trying to do is to say, oh, you know what? I'm good at mathematics. I was sort of trying to crop out all of that. That's not what they were asking for. That wasn't relevant to the interview.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's the kind of thing that they were like,
they'll ask you hypothetical questions.
Yeah, they're not gonna ask. Oh,
what would you do if X, Y, Z?
Because
Or tell us about a time when you did X, Y, Z. Or what would you do if those are the type of questions that
when they offered me an interview, right? I asked for my certificates to be sent here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I went with a folder with my certificates and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Nobody asked.
They're not interested.
Nobody
at all.
asked.
Because the thing is, right, with some jobs, I mean, like within the civil service, yes, you'll be asked if you're applying for accounting or finance role or something technical.
Yeah,
yes, they'll
yeah,
want to see
yeah.
that you've got the skills. They're not going to be like
Assume that you have
They'll want to see. They'll want to know. But if it's a role where I don't know,
it could be like admin, for example.
Admin, yes, but there are other roles as well where you don't necessarily need the
Your
experience.
O-level certificate.
You don't need your O-level experience. You don't need a degree. You don't need. They just need to know that you've got the aptitude
to learn it.
to learn. Because most of it's on the job training. It's on the job learning. You just have to show that you've got that sort of experience. Because they'll say if they ask you a question like, tell us about a time where you led people, right? They're not going to ask you for. They're not necessarily looking for an example of work. It could be a time when you led, like what we're talking about, Girl Scouts or whatever.
Yeah.
It could be a time when you led within a voluntary position. It could be a time when you led. Some people will even give examples of home life. Like people who haven't worked for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe because they were, I don't know,
Maybe with your
maternity
hobby,
leave
because
or pregnancy, or they were having babies.
Like I could talk about.
They took 10-year break from work.
Yeah.
So they don't have that experience in those 10 years, but they can talk about stuff they were doing that's similar, that will show that they have the aptitude and the
like I could talk about
to do what they need to do.
Yeah, I could talk about, say, filmmaking, as in I was making a film. I wrote a script. I planned everything. I planned whatever ways to do this and that. I got some people to join me. Give them tasks, things like that.
Because they want to see that. How did you delegate? What did you do? How did you lead? How did you inspire people?
Yeah.
How did you, all that kind of stuff. So
So
It's not it's definitely not about what's on your certificate and
other
what's
than
on your
certificate,
degree.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Which is a shame for most people in this, like the older generation in this country, because when they apply for jobs, or they're used to that old system where they'll be like, oh, I've got 20 years experience. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, you can have 20 years experience of doing nothing and being a really bad employee.
yeah.
You might have those 20 years, but you're terrible.
Because yeah, people because
You
there are
weren't
some jobs
producing, you weren't hitting your targets, but you've got 20 years
you were
experience.
kept there.
So at the end of the day, they're correct in sort of asking those questions, because
No, it also gives a chance to other people who can do your
yeah,
job, but they haven't been doing
because
it for.
because my cousin in Zim, right, she's well qualified. I think she's got like 2 degrees or whatever, and she's been struggling to get a job since she qualified, because every job that suits her
Because a PhD,
qualifications says must have
PhD.
10 years experience. And
That's
you're
so
like,
unfair. Like, where did I get that from?
where do I get it from if you're not giving me the chance to,
Yeah,
So she's working in a doctor's office doing, like some type of, because she did research and stuff. So she's kind
Yeah.
of like a technical with something, I don't know, but in a doctor's office. But it's not what she wants to do, you know?
yeah. No, I get what you mean. I think because what we're not saying is in the UK there are no jobs that requires 5 years experience, 10 years experience.
No.
There are jobs like that,
They are. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Like
But
engineering
then
jobs or something. Where,
yeah, but then some jobs where they say 3 years experience, even if you don't have, just apply.
yeah,
Just
just
actually just
apply.
apply because if they can't find a good candidate, you might get a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, okay, then we want somebody. All right, we'll take this guy.
And I'd also always advise people, like, if they're gonna look for a job, is to look for companies, not small, unknown companies. When you're driving on the M1, or even in just random villages, and you just see names of
Yeah,
companies, like, I've never seen that. I don't even know what this company does.
yeah,
But I can imagine if that company was to advertise for a job, not many people will go for it, because they're also thinking, I don't know what, they're all gonna go for Tesco and
like
civil service and all the big company names that they know. Not
like
many people are
like
looking for
my
jobs in, I don't
right
know.
now, because when I'm searching for jobs now, although I do go for some I've been trying to get like into regulatory organizations. I think I can deal with those, but I don't want to work for, let's say, I don't know, Barclays. I do get there. There are big opportunities when you get to. Maybe not. I don't think there are big opportunities at Barclays. It may seem like they are, but to get to that, it can be quite difficult in these huge, very very huge companies, and yeah, I feel that way because, like now at my workplace, right? There are so many. It's a big company. There are so many departments that when you see a job you like, you're like, I would like to do this job. You know you're not going to get it. They're advertising it because someone in that department is going to apply for the job and get it. You're just kind of, wasting time or putting
Yeah.
up the numbers. Because there's a job where we applied with the interviews, and me and my colleagues who did apply for the job, we all knew, like, we're not going to get this job.
You're just applying for the experience.
That's the job where I got asked one of the dumbest questions ever, where they say, I feel like it's so dumb. They said, when did you ever make a decision you didn't agree with? It's like, well, if I make that, what I said, well, if I make that decision, which means I agree with it, that's the right decision at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to just do anything. And I don't know. What do you think about that question yourself? Because what I do sort of get the sense of it, okay, but it's a dumb thing to say, right? Let's say, for example, well, I give an example for in insurance. So the example I gave in the end was like, well, one time I had to agree to pay for someone's carpet on a subsidized claim just to get because it was like £500. It's not a lot of money. Okay, subsidence usually doesn't damage contents, but she was claiming, oh, the workman damaged my carpet. right?
Right.
And thinking, look, we spent 50,000 on this, right? What is another 500 pounds? Here you are, right? Okay. But it's not a decision I don't like. I agree. Yeah, I'm solving a problem,
Yeah.
right? They feel that was a good answer in the end, but I just think felt like, well, because in my kind of role, I don't just decide to do something. If I say, okay, I'm going to do, I have to, someone else has to approve that. Okay, I can't make a decision that I think, oh, I'm just doing this. Someone else has to approve it.
Yeah, I think
This
maybe
is such a dumb.
they were looking for I don't know what they were looking for, to be honest. But in my head when you said that, I was thinking maybe they were looking for risks. Like, what are the risks? Did you look at, like, when you made that decision, what were the risks? If you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like, okay,
No,
I don't agree with it, but if I do agree with it, what's the risk of me doing it, or what's the risk of me not doing it? You know,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
No, but I
Like,
think it's
what are the pros? Basically, what are
the
the
pros
pros
and
and
cons.
cons?
Yeah, so the pros and cons.
Like, do they outweigh? Because if the pros outweigh, even though you don't agree, maybe it's against your better judgment. It's against even your ethics or whatever. I don't know.
yeah, but
Because it doesn't have to be necessarily a work decision.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know, unless if they're asking
No,
you
no, no.
work based.
Well, I get that, but I think for me, I just think that if you make a decision, it's because you agree with it. That's the best thing to do at that time, and you can explain why why you're making that decision, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
what I
yeah.
can
No,
do
no,
is,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with you. I'm
yeah.
agreeing with
So
you. But what I'm saying is, I think what they were looking for was for you to say I've weighed the pros and cons. You know, this was like, explain what the decision was, like you mentioned, and this, if I'd done this, then this, da, da, da. If I'd done this, then this, da, da, da. And I've done this, da, 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 da.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
thought it was better for me to give the £500 because XYZ. So these are the risks.
yeah.
You know
But
what I mean? So
I
I think that's what they were looking for,
my
not
gripe
necessarily.
my gripe is with the phrasing, I guess, the phrasing of the question, right? So it could have been something like, when do you ever make a decision just to solve something like something just to solve a problem, right? Because obviously you weigh the pros and cons, and you have to explain to the customer, like, look, usually we don't do this, because next
Well,
time
what I
they
usually
think,
do though, if I'm not sure about a question, I always ask them, can you rephrase it, or can you ask it in a different way, or do you mean this? I always ask.
well,
When I'm having I'll never just say what they've told me is what they mean, because
you know, 'cause-
for them, they might think they know what they're talking about. And having worked in content design, one thing I know for sure is people will read things differently and understand them differently. And if you're not making it clear and simple for that person to understand, they will
yeah,
misinterpret what you're trying to say.
yeah.
So for them, they would have probably looked at it and thought, yeah, this is a good question. Yeah, it makes sense, because they know what they're looking for.
Okay, so they failed to explain, and they said, oh, it's one of the questions that we are supposed to ask. Right? I don't know who said the questions for them, and it was an awful situation, because Teams, it was supposed to be done over Teams, but then my computer at the time didn't have, because there was no camera, so we had to do it over, like, we're not speaking face to face, or face to face, as in there was no images. It was over the phone, which
Oh,
made
your whole
things,
interview was over the phone?
yeah.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
That was, I don't remember when, but it wasn't. I think I told you. I don't remember, but I think is what it was in the end, because we're having this intense conversation with someone you don't. If I knew the person before and they're talking over the phone, it's a different vibe. But if you have this conversation you're having with people you don't see, you can. Do you know what I mean? It was so off.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I had an interview. I had an interview in Zim. I don't know if you remember. I applied for a job just before I left to go to Zimbabwe, and I thought, oh, by the time I come back, because usually civil service, these things take time, right? So I thought, by the time I come back, that's when the interview will probably be. And I usually go for about 4 weeks. Within 2 weeks, I was called to the interview whilst I was in Zim.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you remember. and I didn't have any of like my notes or anything because I had just gone thinking, I'm just going on holiday. So I was like, okay. So anyway, I did the interview and I didn't get the job. But then when I came back, the job was still open. Like they still had the the
They were like-
vacancy. So they had it as on a temporary what you call it? Because I think the other people that applied also didn't get it. But they had it on a temporary position, sort of. So I applied for the temporary position. I got it temporary. But when I was in Zim, so my story really is about when I was in Zim, I struggled with, because I did a Teams. I was on my phone, right? And I was doing Teams on my phone. Worked for the first 5 minutes, and then the electricity went. So the data was still fine. Like I could still connect, but because once the electricity goes off, it affects the Ethernet transmitter.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They should be working on battery, on generators.
I don't know, but it becomes weaker. So it became weaker, so which meant that I think I restarted that interview like 5 times. Kept restarting. Nyari, you frozen. You frozen. Nyari, you frozen.
Did they know you were in Zim?
Nyari, yeah, I told them I was in Zim. Nyari, you're frozen. Call us back, mate. Call us back. And I think because of that, I got frazzled.
Okay,
I didn't and like I mentioned, I didn't have my notes.
Afterwards, did you think you got the job?
No, you know what? I was still hopeful, but yeah. But you know what? What made it worse was the fact that nobody got the job. So which means that I must have been really terrible. Because sometimes you think, oh, maybe if nobody else has applied, they'll just be like, maybe that one.
They're like, no.
But you know what? I knew. I was like, I did my best, but I hadn't had enough of my notes to practice. Like how you practice the night before and stuff like that. So I knew. Yeah. And because like you're mentioning about the faceless interview that you had.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the best. It didn't have that vibe, because it was like 1 minute you're going into the question, and then the next thing, Nyari, you're frozen. You're frozen. You're like, you have to start again. Where was I? And then they have to it wasn't good.
Oh, well.
But yeah, so those are my, I don't know, I suppose there's others, and I'm sure if we get a guest who wants to talk about jobs.
Yeah, there's a lot more to there's a lot more to this job getting stuff, but that's been some of our experience.
Yeah.
And including our Boy Scouts experiences. So anywho, we will catch you
soon.
Was that my tummy?
No, that was mine. It's probably the coffee I'm drinking, because I'm definitely not hungry. So I don't know.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Please tell others about the podcast. Tell them we are available on Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and some other places. Like if you search 28 American Podcasts, you find it on some other places. So because I guess the feed goes to so many other different people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So make requests on like specific platforms. I can apply. Yeah. Or I can submit the podcast, because not everyone, but Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, which is a very, very poor design, man. YouTube Music, my God, they need to do better.
It's terrible. And because Google Podcasts have moved to YouTube Music. I'm just like, I can't with this.
It doesn't look great. They need to improve it. They need to make it look better. Hopefully they do now.
I might get myself a free Spotify account and download my podcast there. Anyway,
okay.
We're talking too much.
All right. Okay. Catch you later.
All right. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.